Asa Swift here, and before we start, I want to remind you to don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like the page, and don't forget to hit the bell notification, because that way you'll get notified every time I have a new video up. So always do that for me, please. That helps the channel a whole lot. What I'm here on today is 2910 North Delaware Street, and back in 1962, my former department, when I retired from, is Indianapolis Police Department, and which became the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. Back in 1962, they were called to this address, and they were called to this address by Mrs. Beck, and it was reports of poltergeist activity going on inside the house, violent poltergeist activity. And we're talking about things being thrown, things moving on their own. An ashtray hit a policeman in the back of the head. In this story, the officers that are involved are also named. I will be basically narrating a story that's on the internet. I found one that is very inclusive and has all the details. I don't want to leave anything out. And I've got plenty of things to do, so I want to make sure that the story is proper and do it justice. And so I write books, as you know. You go to asaswift.com, you'll see the books that I write. I write horror stories, but what I like to do is go to places like this and talk about them and let you know about them and the stories behind them. And it's kind of a way to promote my books too. So if you just follow me, we'll take a look at the house. People still live there, so we won't harass them or bother them. But anyway, come on. Once you get the house in the shot. Mm-hmm. So as you can see, the house has changed a lot since then. I'm going to see if I can find other pictures of the house back in 1962, so you can take a look at the differences in the house. But in fact, this is the house that in 1962 Indianapolis police were called, I guess probably maybe for the first time in the department's history, of a poltergeist. The second time that I know of anyway, was the one that the video that I recently put out on the Devil at LaSalle Street. And basically this is the same kind of incident. A Dr. Roll was a parapsychologist and a scientist, and he investigated this house here. I used to have an article on that. It's a very old article. Whether I can find it or not, I don't know. If I can, I will also include pertinent information from that if I can find it. Again, it's a very old article, and I believe that I think that it came out not too many years after it happened, because Dr. Roll back then was a young man. He may be deceased now, as far as I know. His last name is spelled, I believe, R-O-W-L-R-O-L-L, if I recall right. Again, it's been a long time since I've seen or read the article. But let's go on and take a look at the rest of the house. Of course, we'll go on inside. We don't know people there, and people still live there. Around as much as you cover, and slow, make it slow. tell you what, let's see, how much is that? Well, we could go, I guess we could go into the alley. We'd have to go back around. We'll go in the alley and show you the back of it. It's not nearly as pertinent because this is the picture of the house that was shown in the Indianapolis Star at the time. And it was also the picture shown in the article that I referenced earlier. So, along with this video, I will be narrating the story behind it. I'll gather as many pictures of it that I can, especially from the day. I'm sure that there's not too many, because back then, obviously, media isn't what it is today. 1962, these kind of things were just pretty much overlooked or dismissed, except by the people that experienced them, and in this particular case, the officers that experienced them. Back then, it wasn't nearly as well talked about because people felt that their careers would be in danger for speaking about such things as poltergeists, ghosts, demons, and all that kind of thing. And strangely enough, nowadays it's considered more normal, and I think that's because of the advent of social media, the YouTube, television shows, the popularity of them, versus back in the day. You rarely saw any TV show that had anything to do with paranormal, even back as far as early 70s. And in fact, there weren't that very many movies either until the early 70s. The Exorcist was one of the first really biggies to come out. The paranormal shows back then tended to be surrounding the classic Warner Brothers or whichever movie studios monsters, like Dracula and the Wolfman and things like that. Nowadays, there's a plethora of paranormal everything that you could possibly think of, especially YouTube channels. And so now people don't seem to think of it so much as something that's going to destroy their career or their credibility. I was on the department for 30 years. Nobody made fun of me or criticized me or thought that I shouldn't be a policeman. So it's not what it was, and thank goodness for that. I think that it's also caused a rise in church attendance too, a little bit. So anyway, we'll go around back. I don't want to do too much driving back through there because we're driving my son's car and he just put new tires on it, and I don't want to get holes punched into it. So anyway, I'll show you what I can, and I'll dig up as much as I can. So I appreciate it again. Remember to like the page, subscribe to my page, and hit the notification bell so that you'll know when a new video comes out. So I'm going to sign off for right now, and we'll see what else we can dig up.
Well, I don't know if you can hit. Let's see. Do I have a microphone? Yeah, I still have the microphone on.
What's that? No, there's some paranormal activity that happened back in like 1962.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I retired from IPD, and I came by here in my patrol car one day on duty, because I used to work this district, and somebody was out front here, and I stopped, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I read a story that happened back in 1962 about a poltergeist incident in this particular house, and it involved a woman and her two daughters. Her last name was Beck." Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
seen, but I believe that other people have seen it. They just ain't let us see it, right? But here's the thing: what happened in the house is real. I'm saying we talked about it when we was listen, man. I've been in this house 50 years, man. That house is real. Now the people that stay in it now, I talk to them every 2 or 3 days. Now I never said nothing. Well, actually, he told me he looked it up, but I ain't never heard him say that something's been happening recently. But when you do this, Jeffrey Red, you come back, you can let me know because I want to.
It'll be on my YouTube channel.
I need to read this. What you got? Something because I'm not good at computer.
It'll be on my YouTube channel. I write horror stories.
But listen, how do I get to that? Because I'm not,
Go to YouTube. Go to. Well, you can look up Asa Swift. That's my pen name. Asa Swift haunted places.
Listen, man. When you get, I don't want to use the word old. When you get like, I don't like computers.
I'm old.
I don't like computers, but I know how to use them to what I need. But see, if you send me that information, then I have it. Because once I leave here, I don't want to say what I was almost going to say. I won't remember it.
Well, you know how to get to YouTube, right?
Yes.
You know what YouTube is.
Yes.
Just type in Asa Swift.
Reach down in the pocket, the door pocket. There's a pad, and then there should be a pen in there too.
Because I'm trying to help you help me because this is
there should
so
be a
real.
pen.
This way I know I got it. When I get in my car, I'm old lady in the car, and I can tell her, and then she can help me to do what you just said, and then I can be a follower, man.
All right.
But I believe that what you're saying is true. But there was, now, understand this. The next street is Delaware.
Yep.
Okay. The street after that's Washington. The street the house right there on the corner. Okay, on Washington and 30th.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they remodeled it. It's right behind. It's in front of the fish market.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They've been over there and they've been over this house when some of that stuff happened. So you could actually talk to him and he could tell you something that I don't know because he said they was over here one night or something, some strange things was happening. But that's been a while ago. Now I seen him about 2 weeks ago. That's when he told me that.
Mm-hmm.
But he had been in prison for like 15 years and I seen him, like I said, about 2 weeks ago, and he was telling me about what happened years ago in that house. And then my neighbor right here, he went and read up on something of it too. So they both neighbors. So now this lady right here, she been here for a while. She's an interpreter, but she's from another country, so she might could see something that we didn't see. These are neighbors that I know that know something.
Well, supposedly, this is a theory by paranormal investigators, and they say that the woman and her two daughters, her two daughters were going through puberty, and they say that, not all of them, but a lot of paranormal investigators will say that fact of going through puberty has some way of causing a poltergeist.
Like opening the door.
I don't know that I buy that.
Right.
Maybe it's something that is attracted to. Maybe it's a spirit that's attracted to girls going through puberty or whatever. I don't know, but I don't know that I necessarily buy that explanation. Although it could be. Again, it's just a theory. It's not fact.
Now, while you're saying this, I'm going to open another door. I live here. Now, I know I ain't crazy. I know what I'm saying, and I know what I've seen. I got 2, 3 ghosts in the house. I swear, if God was to strike me down, I believe that there's 2, 3 ghosts in my house, and we talk to each other. And one of them is bad. They always doing something. The other 2, they just go in and out. I'll shut the door. I know I shut the door. Come back, doors open. Ain't nobody open that door, but when them goes, or I moved something and it was moved over, or I went to do something and it moved. I said, maybe did you? It's just things like that.
Been there, done that.
And then I question myself. It's like when you're walking and you trip over something. Why do you got to look back? It wasn't nothing there. You just tripped over. What was it? What are we looking for?
Yeah.
I was looking for something, but I knew what I was looking for, but I didn't see what I was looking for. But I felt like something was there. You ever felt like you was somewhere? And then you feel like somebody's staring at you, and hearing your next turn, and you turn around and look, but you don't see nobody else come out of the bush. It was somebody, and that's what that is.
Yeah.
And now I'm not saying it's the same thing as what's over there, because I don't want nothing deeper in my house.
No, not at all.
If they do, listen, they got to follow the rules, and then if they don't pay no rent, they can't stay. You don't pay, you don't stay.
Well, we're off to another exciting location. So you hang on to that.
Man.
Yeah, you
Here,
got that?
give me. That pen was dead.
Oh,
Yeah, that pen's out.
I want to be able to.
was there another pen
I
in
think
here?
there's another one down in there.
Oh, there is.
Hey, listen, man, I'm trying to tell you, man, from a distance, your shirt looks like a badge, dude. Y'all clean.
Oh, I got a badge on. It's a sheriff's badge now, though.
The car, the only thing is, you don't got the red light, but I was saying, I said, dude, I know I ain't done nothing, but I figured this got to be they doing something. I said, well, my neighbor, I know he don't do nothing, so it's got to be something back there that I ain't seen.
Yeah, I still wear a badge and a gun, but now it's for the sheriff's department.
Right.
So aceofswift.com and
aceofswift.com and Ace of Swift's Haunted Places. That's my YouTube channel.
Well, like I say, if it's something that I don't believe in, I will be able to tell you. But I believe in that. I believe what's in my house. I believe in the spirits. I believe that things can happen. And sometimes we don't know the answer.
I've seen it with my own eyes.
there you go.
Okay. Thank you so very much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the story, right
Yeah.
on. Thank you.
Okay. You heard it from a neighbor. Okay, that was interesting. Didn't expect that. But anyway, that's the back of the house of the old Beck house, and we're going to go on another adventure next. This is going to be a separate video, but we're going to go visit the Sylvia Likens murder house, torture house, torture first, murder later. This happened back in 1965. It was a very infamous, terrible murder, and there are those that say that nothing worse has happened in Indiana since then. It was a heinous crime. The house reportedly was torn down in 2009, but of course, I believe the steps. I think it looked like there were steps to the house. Maybe not. We'll go down there, and it's at 3850 52 East New York Street, and that's where we're headed next. Again, that's going to be a separate video, but on that spot occurred one of the most vicious, brutal, horrific crimes in Indianapolis and Indiana's history, and that's where we're headed to next. See ya. This is the first of two well-publicized poltergeist incidents that the Indianapolis Police Department has dealt with. This is somewhat long from true crime in the Circle City. It all started Sunday night, March 11th, 1962. Mrs. Renata Beck, a native of Vienna, Austria, and her mother, Mrs. Lena Gemecki, were in their kitchen at 2910 North Delaware Street. Renata got up to boil an egg. As she did, a coffee cup flew out of the sink and smashed against the wall where she had been sitting. After that, whenever either woman walked into a room alone, a poltergeist struck, hurling objects across the room with force. When Mrs. Beck went to bed that night, a glass ashtray was thrown from her bed table and into a mirror across the room, shattering both. At 10:37 p.m. that night, a piece of German crystal on top of a bookcase in an upstairs bedroom crashed 4 feet to the floor, shattering it. Numerous pieces of crockery and vases were broken, usually at 45-minute intervals. About midnight that night, Mrs. Beck called the Indianapolis Police Department. A patrolman arrived and he heard something break upstairs in the bedroom and walked up. While on the stairs, a glass flew through the air, hit him on the back, and shattered. He left the house without resolving the mystery. The problem had gotten so bad by 1:30 Monday morning that they planned with a friend to stay at the Sheffield Inn for the night. By the time they returned home at 1:30 p.m., glass was breaking every few minutes. The family friend who had arranged the motel stay was sitting in the kitchen Monday evening with his wife,
A large glass vessel sailed from the direction of Mrs. Beck's room, turned the corner, flew across the hall, and then shattered at their feet in the kitchen. On Monday night, March the 12th, her valise containing $125 disappeared. Another call was made to IPD, and Patrolman Ronald L. Patton arrived at about 8 p.m. Patton questioned the family members. Mrs. Beck showed him 3 of a set of 6 matched glasses on a dresser in her room. They were covered by a hat. At 8:25 p.m., Patton heard glass break. Mrs. Beck screamed, and he ran to the back of the bedroom. One of the glasses was now smashed to the floor. The patrolman started examining some German china in another bedroom when a loud crash came from Mrs. Beck's room. Patton ran in to see another glass shattered on the floor. She was lying back in a chair, sighing, "Oh my God." Patton looked under the hat where the glasses had been covered, and only one was left. IPD Sergeant James L. Mullen arrived and looked around the house. He heard the stories and suggested the cause might be a hi-fi stereo or pellets fired through windows. The woman said there was just a small record player in the home and it hadn't been used. The storm windows were up, which eliminated the pellet gun theory. As Sergeant Mullen left, something broke in a bedroom. Patton rushed in with a flashlight and found a broken green figurine on the floor. Now Lieutenant Francis J. Dew arrived to investigate. He heard a strange noise, on which was thought to be an attic door vibrating. They went up, but didn't find anything. IPD sent out a police radio technician with an electronic listening device. They were hoping to pick up high-frequency sounds. After it was plugged in, the technician said, "All I can hear is Lieutenant Dew." Mrs. Beck said to reporters early in the evening, "I'm going to stay here and try and stick it out." After hearing more glass breaking in the house while outside the home, hours later she said, "I've just had about all I can take. Somebody's got to find out what this is." The next day the valise reappeared missing $90. The woman also discovered small puncture marks on their arms resembling a bat bite. Lieutenant Francis J. Dew commented that, "We've tried to get the spirits to come out and play, but they wouldn't." Since something was breaking every 30 minutes, Dew sat everybody down in the same room for 90 minutes. Nothing happened. The only time anything does happen seems to be when one member of the household is away from the others, he said. After this story hit the local papers on March 13, 1962, it received national play, and locally, Mrs. Beck was contacted by people trying to help. She had nicknamed the poltergeist Henry. 3 times since March 14th, police had come to the house and chased a crowd of young ghost watchers away. One caller advised Mrs. Beck to speak sternly to the ghost and order him out of the house. "At least, that's how I got rid of mine," she said. Apparently, Henry left the house on his own. He made his last appearance at 10:45 p.m. March 13th, when he lifted a letter opener and made it fly. On March 24, 1962, Sergeant James L. Mullen was called again to the 2910 North Delaware Street address to investigate a woman. He entered and saw the grandmother, Mrs. Gamecki, lying on the living room floor. Upstairs, he spoke to her daughter, Mrs. Beck. When he began walking downstairs, he watched from a landing between the 2 floors. He saw Mrs. Gamecki throw a large ceramic ashtray, turn over a coffee table, knock over a chair, and upset a piano bench. Sergeant Mullen arrested the woman for being a disorderly person. Mrs. Beck said that about 11 p.m., she and her mother were leaving the house when Mrs. Gamecki collapsed. Mrs. Beck thought it was a diabetic coma. Mrs. Gamecki was bailed out March 25th by the daughter. In 1965, the house was taken over by Walter Moore family. They started hearing strange things, such as arguing in the basement. This stopped when they'd open the door. They also heard sounds like a baby crying or footsteps upstairs when everyone was downstairs. We used to hear someone coming up the basement stairs. The noise would be low. Then it would start getting louder and louder, like it was about to come out. It never came out, said Mrs. Moore in a 1981 interview. In 1981, now retired Lieutenant Francis Dew said, "The funniest part about it was, if we were in the old mother's, Lena Gamecki's, sight, nothing ever happened. As soon as we left her alone in a room, however, we think she'd start throwing the glass. Apparently, Mrs. Beck and Mrs. Gamecki had frequent arguments about whether Beck would move back to Europe with her, which she refused to do." So, the story's left up to you. Do you believe the police witnesses? Do you believe the Becks or their stories? Do you believe the neighbors' stories? Do you believe the former tenants' stories? I think it's probably safe to say yes and pass on purchasing that house. This has been Asa Swift, and I thank you for listening.